Downloading an app can be the start of a teen learning a new skill, discovering a community, or igniting their creativity. But parents should have a say in which apps are right for their teens. That's why Instagram wants to work with Congress to require parental approval wherever teens under 16 download apps. Learn more at instagram.com/parental approval.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
Welcome to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast, a brilliant true crime podcast hosted by two zany sisters, all while baking up delicious treats in their kitchen. Here are your podcast hosts, Karen Devaney and Ann Varner.
Y'all, welcome to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast. I'm Ann Varner.
I'm Karen Devaney.
And here we are. And we're all nervous. They're like all aflutter.
I'm all flat, like I'm having a fan myself.
We're having like the most famous guest that we've ever had.
Yeah,
probably that we ever will have. We're
probably
so nervous. I couldn't sleep last night.
And this is part one.
Part one of two. Oh my God.
Two.
Today our guest is Dr. Kenneth Kinsey.
Insane. I don't even know how we managed to score
I
this
don't
one.
either. And I'm still pinching myself, and I will pinch you too if you want me to.
No, I'm good. I don't need any kind of pension. I do need a pension.
Oh.
But I don't need any kind of a pension.
Pinching. Okay, fine. Thanks for clarifying.
Most of us learned about this genius when the Alec Murdaugh trial was on.
Yes, here in the Low Country.
In the Low Country, nationwide coverage on that case.
And then we stalked him at CrimeCon.
We did indeed.
Gene Siskel and Roger Ebert, two titans of cinematic review. Sometimes right, sometimes wrong, but always captivating. Your hosts Antonio of the Cult-Worthy Cinema Podcast and Justin Henson of the Movie Wire are here to take you back to the balcony.
I really don't do reviews, but for me, it's more about like, hey, everyone, these films exist.
When we go into Siskel and Ebert, we're not always going to agree with Siskel and Ebert, but, there's some aspects we may.
And I think with each episode we're going to understand these guys a lot more than we think we have in all the decades that we've been reading their stuff. The Balcony debuts Tuesday, January 2nd on YouTube and your favorite podcasting platform. Join us.
Dr. Kinsey is retired chief deputy from the Orangeburg, South Carolina Sheriff's Office. He graduated from Clemson University with a BS degree in resource management, then went on to get his MS degree in criminal justice from Troy University. And as if that wasn't enough, he went on and got his PhD at Walden University. He is internationally certified as a crime scene investigator. That's a big deal. He's also been certified by the South Carolina Criminal Justice Academy as a handgun, shotgun, and patrol rifle instructor. At one time, he even headed up a SWAT team as the commander. Let's just say he can outsmart you and kill you all at the same time. Dr. Kinsey is a forensic expert. He's been qualified as an expert in blood stain pattern examination, crime scene investigation, crime scene reconstruction, fabric impression examination, fingerprint examination, as well as tire tread and footwear examination. So he's going to clean up that scene after he kills you.
Yeah.
Currently,
not that he ever would.
Exactly. Currently, Dr. Kinsey owns and operates Kenny Kinsey and Associates, offering his expertise in law enforcement administration policy review, civil and criminal case review, consulting, trial preparation, and training. I'm not doing well.
It's okay. You're
crime scene examination, impression examination and analysis, blood stain pattern analysis, law enforcement use by force. No, not by, but of, because he's not going to use anything by force. He's going to use of force.
Scary.
Right. He's not coming after the law enforcement. Firearms instructor, and he's also a criminal justice lecturer. He has been described as a down-to-earth, modern-day Sherlock Holmes, and we are incredibly lucky to have him. We only had to stalk him one time at CrimeCon, and he agreed to come on our show.
We couldn't believe it when you agreed. We were like, is somebody punking us?
Welcome, Dr. Kinsey.
Thank you, ladies. And I just want to correct it. That's formally internationally certified. I don't work enough actual scenes now to keep that up, but I qualified actually twice. I certified with the IAI, and it was my absolute pleasure at CrimeCon. You ladies are so down to earth. And I said right then, for 32 years, I've run from the media. I've run from anyone that ever wanted to do an interview, but it's feeling down home. And I got that down home vibe. And I'm so honored and elated to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And you drove here, like you drove from your home to our home. And that is, I mean, I can't get over that.
Oh my God. You know those special little friendship mugs that said you're here and I'm here and it's like two little hearts. We're totally getting those made up.
Totally getting those. We're like Dr. Kinsey, big hearts.
I was so excited, getting over that. It wasn't COVID and it wasn't the flu. We just had that thing kind of in between during Christmas. And I'm like, I've been taking my vitamins and doing a Hulk Hogan, praying every day, hoping I'll feel better so we could make it down here. And we tested and made sure everything was safe. And we are just so happy that you brought us into your home to actually do this.
That's very sweet. You may change your mind by the end of the day, but we'll go with that.
We're going to go with it right now. What you're saying right now is what we're going to take as the truth.
Come on, ladies. Don't be a hater now. I told you I pray for my haters because they are the ones that are most envious. But we only had just a couple, and everything has been phenomenal. So much support from people that we never had the opportunity to meet and actually know like I do you ladies now. So it's really, really our honor to be here.
That's very sweet.
That's very nice. In all of that list, was there anything in there about a parks, recreation, and tourism management?
That's resource management. That would be resource management.
That's the resource management. I'm most impressed with that
Well,
degree.
they had a couple different how do you say it? Different paths you could take under that major. And one of them was travel and tourism. I cannot book you a cruise. And I definitely would mess up if I was running a hotel or a resort. So the resource management part was actually the only thing at Clemson at the time that offered any criminal justice classes. And it was in relation to park ranger, that kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So they actually have a major now. But 30 years ago, they didn't have that. So it was the only way I could get a little bit about what I wanted to do.
Okay. Here's my question. It's not even a really question. Kind of is. We have a group of 8th grade students at Moultrie Middle School in Mount Pleasant near here. Their 2nd and 6th period forensics class would love to get a shout out from you, first of all. And they would like to have any advice you might have for those that want to pursue a career in crime scene analysis.
Absolutely. Shout out to the youngsters. I love them so. Get as much science as you can get. You don't have to have a lot of any, but you have to have a little bit of all.
Okay.
And that's how I built. Really and truly, that's how I lived my scholastic career. I never was going to be a brain surgeon, was never going to be a medical doctor, even though I was a pre-med student for about 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
Oh, yes. The chemistry and the biology just killed me because it went so deep. But a little bit. All you got to have is a little bit. And it's not going to make a lot of sense to you. I had a teacher, Miss Hayes. She's left this earth now, but she beat geometry into my head. And to be honest, I never got it. When you start working in bloodstains and you go to these classes and you're learning how to figure out an area of origin and a point of origin and you're running your strings, it clicks. And you're like, they didn't waste their time.
I am going to use this.
Right. So just a little of everything and you should be okay. And if you really, really want to do this career, the world needs you because the young generation now, they don't want to do this. And it's definitely a need for it. And I think we have tried to make ourselves too smart. Because the old timers, which I'm quickly becoming one of, the old timers wanted to hold on to that science. So they tried to make it more and more and more difficult. in the interest of raising the efficacy level and making it a better science. And I really believe what they've done is they've bogged it down.
Right.
And, that's why I tell people I don't make the evidence. I try to make the evidence easy to understand.
Right.
And I do it, or try to do it in an Andy Griffith kind of way. And so far, I've been able to relate with people. And it doesn't really matter what the world thinks about you at the time. I mean, I appreciate people supporting me, but you have to relate to that jury. You have to pick out those men and women, because remember, you don't know where they're from.
Right.
You don't know their background. You cannot judge them by looking at them. So you have to find another way to relate, and you do it with your eyes.
Right.
And when you can lock eyes with them and you can relay that evidence to them in a way that they understand. And I used to say, I dumb it down. No, I'm not dumbing it down. I'm bringing it down to my level. And they understand it because they are the real judges. We call the gentleman or the lady in the black robe the judge, but really and truly, they're the referee.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
They are not the judge. They're in charge for all those, your honors out there. They are in charge, but they are the referee.
Right.
And so you have to relate with that jury. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I like to find a smile or someone that will look you in the eyes and not turn their head. And I like to keep going back to them. And it shows that you're genuine, and it shows that they are genuinely interested. And, you get half of that jury that is relating to what you're saying. When they go back there and start slinging plates and cups and doing their deliberation part, you never know where it's going to go.
Right. It's very true.
But it's important that number one, you're accurate. And to those youngsters, again, you got to have that science background, but you don't have to talk like a scientist.
Okay.
As long as you've got the premise behind it, the rest of it's easy. If you're telling the truth, then you're going to tell it the same way every time. And you can make mistakes, and don't be scared to say, I don't know, or don't be scared to admit when you make a mistake.
Right.
Because, none of us walked on water.
Right.
And, if it's taught me anything, it's just, you are fallible. I'm not famous, I'm infamous, but I can live with that. And just the thousands and thousands of supporters let you know that what you do is appreciated.
Right. Good. Yeah.
That's very good.
So when did you decide that you wanted a career in criminal justice?
My whole life.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. It was going to be on one side or the other. And like I told, I think it was Miss Chanley or one of those other wonderful people I've met, I'd have made a real bad Hell's Angel. It wouldn't have worked. My mama was a police officer. My dad was a police officer.
So you're born into
it. Yeah.
Okay.
And
so when you all played cops and robbers, you were always the cop.
Always. Okay. Yes, ma'am. I'm the one that I couldn't be on death row because I have no patience. And I'd be like, don't worry about the appeal. Let's just get it done right now. And so I was always the one that when I messed up, I would tell on myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because I found out it was just, if you mess up, fess up, makes it easier. And I always tried to do the right thing. I mean, I don't even speed. And that's not trying to make me sound like I walk on water, because I do a lot of things that probably you shouldn't do. But I'm always that one that worries. Well, what if I get pulled over? What if I lose points on my license? What if my insurance goes up? I mean, I'm just that worrier.
Right.
And what's my wife going to do?
Well, I mean, so I was always that guy. When people got in trouble, they'd come to me, what do you think we should do? Well, I won't lie for you, but I'll help you mitigate this. And that's just how it worked out. And when I got into the crime scene part of it, like you mentioned earlier, I thought I was going to be the tactical dude. I was going to be G.I. Joe kicking down doors.
Sounds like you were for a while.
Well, I was, and I was kind of effective at it. But you get to a point where you start aging, and you're like, I don't know if my body will let me kick doors every day or ride around in an armored vehicle every day. And I don't want to go to the gym. I'd rather go to the library. And you get to a point to where you say, where can I advance my career without putting my body through this anymore? Right. I was fortunate in an unfortunate situation. We had a natural death, and the lady had been in the house for quite a while, and my whole shift went. And the sheriff pulled up, the high sheriff. I worked for Sheriff Leroy Ravenel when I retired, which I think is the best sheriff in my lifetime in Orangeburg. But this was several sheriffs ago, and he pulled up, and I was the only one that wasn't sick to my stomach. The whole shift was in the azalea bushes. And I'm like, this is pretty bad, y'all. Yeah, Sheriff, this is bad. And he's like, you're going to CSI school. And I didn't know what that was. This was before Grissom was on TV.
Sure.
You know, there are a lot of pioneers did this long before me, but I didn't know them. And it just kind of, it graduated from, you know, a 3-week internship to fingerprint school to footwear school to tire school, blood spatter school. And it just kept going. And I was gone from Orangeburg for about 6 or 7 months.
Oh, wow.
I'd come to sign my timesheet and pick up my check. And that was it. I was just fortunate to be in a place where we had a lot of violent crime. And I got a lot of experience in a little bit of time. And then going on to SLED was just a wonderful endeavor where we worked 46 counties. I had you know, we worked with a partner, and it was a 2-week rotation. You had 1 week where you worked scenes, and then you had another week where you were backup in case the other team, you know, got bogged down. So, your numbers really go up high when that happens. And you see some experts on TV, you know, I've worked 22,000 death scenes. All I say is do the math. There's 365 days in a year, and you're 42 years old. So let's figure this part out.
Did you start working when you were 16?
Exactly. And, you know, some scenes take weeks.
Of course.
That is the exception, but some take weeks, but you have a lot that takes several days. Mm-hmm. Then you got family time, you got weekends, you got sick time. The math doesn't work.
No.
And I truly, boots on the grounds was over 800, 850. And I've worked, you know, 25 to 30 since I testified in Murdoch. So, I try to keep an honest number. I wish I'd have wrote them all down over the years. Yeah. You know, my dad told me keep a journal.
Oh, right.
But, you know, that was something dudes didn't do 30 years ago. And I mean, so every time.
Dear diary.
Oh, yeah.
I worked a case.
In the middle of the night, my wife will say, what are you doing? Who you texting? I said, me.
Oh.
And she's like, why? I said, case popped in my head. I remember this one. So now I'm about a third of my cases. I can name them now, and they're on my CV, and every couple of days, one will jump in my head, and I'll go back and do some research. But, you know, it's just been a wonderful ride, ladies. If things came crashing down, and I don't think they will, because I have a lot of great attorney friends I've met now, and they call me often. Prosecutors, sheriffs. But if it just say the phone quit ringing, you know, there are a lot of admirable positions out here. Home Depot's honorable, you know, it's okay. I've had a wonderful career and had so many people help me. It's just a real big blessing. Like Cody Johnson said, he's a country music singer. It's not something you fall into. It's something God gives you.
And I think that this career picked you.
And God really just reached out. You know, I planned on sitting on the porch and hunting and fishing and maybe working a case or two. And God says, no, he reaches out and he slaps you with something hard.
Yes, he does.
And he says, no.
Don't ever plan, because God's going to make you go, what was I thinking?
And, you know, I've run from a lot of things God says do in my, 50 plus years. But I didn't run from this one. I said, no, you're getting kind of to the end and you better do what you're told to do. And I really feel like it's ordained.
Yeah.
And like I said, with the haters, he said Jesus. If that's the reason, you dislike me, it's not me. It's what I stand for. And I've tried to give credit, since February and March, or whenever the first time I ever got to speak with a member of the media, I've tried to give credit to everyone who brought me along this ride.
Sure.
Because I was the little spoke on the wheel. It's just, I had so many supporters out here that liked what we did, and it just worked out that way for me. And history could be different.
Right.
Of course.
But it just worked out. I never had a plan. I never expected it. Like I said, Sheriff Ravenel, I said, look, we got a back door. One of the deputies showed me how to get out the back door. My truck's right over there. Come on. He's like, oh, no. You're going out that front door. And when I walked out the front door, life changed.
Right.
And it changed for the better. And when I get where I think I'm not effective and I don't want to do it anymore, then I'll quit doing it.
Sure. I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I hope not with wonderful supporters. It's just been, ladies, I just can't tell you how happy I am. And I feel undeserving. So because there's so many people do what I do and they don't get this kind of publicity. So I feel like I have to do the profession. I owe homage to the profession and to all the other men and women out there that wear a badge and a gun. If you mess up, I'm coming after you, but I'm going to support you when you do the right thing.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. Good advice. Really good advice. Okay, my turn.
This is the first time we've done a podcast. We've actually prepared the night before. Right. That's how important this is.
This has been big changes on your behalf. Big. So what is the case that most surprised you in your career?
Probably Murdaugh.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. I have worked double homicides, triple homicides. I've seen children lined up on the floor, Holly Hill 4, where I was just assisting, but I supervised the crime scene unit. And, children lined up and shot execution style, and we're parents, and it tears you up. And, they say God will only give you what you can handle. But we didn't get those interviews. We didn't have people, like yourselves all over, interested in the case. And I knew it wouldn't be the run of the mill double homicide, but I really never expected, I get real letters. People take their time to write me letters.
That's crazy.
Had supporters that suffer from cancer that, spent money at an auction to have a 30-minute conversation. The jurors calling me in and thanking me. I'm like, no, thank you.
Right. Yeah.
You had the tough part. My part was easy. This is the most surprising to me.
Okay.
We're spouting off names on the way down here in cases. And I'm like, look, I worked the scene in that neighborhood when we crossed over the bridge.
Oh, wow.
And, they come back to you when you ride around South Carolina, and sometimes you can't remember the name exactly, but if you see a photograph, I remember it instantly because, we started with 35 millimeter.
Right.
Right. I remember the big deal when everybody wanted to go digital. No, we're not doing digital, and now you can't.
Nobody's ever going to do digital.
Yeah, you can't do anything without it now, but Murdaugh really just shocked me because, a conservative number, I was probably working with 24 prosecutors and investigators who poured their hearts and soul into this case for a year and a half. Their life stopped.
Right.
And I came in the last 4 months, and just to see the reception, my wife told me one time, she got a little mad at me. She's like, you need to stop that, because you did X, Y, and Z. I'm like, right, but they did from A to X. I did the X, Y, and Z.
I think that your testimony on that witness stand is definitely probably one of the top two reasons that he got convicted.
100%.
100%.
Wow,
100%.
thank you, ladies.
I think if you were not part of that trial, we may not have seen a conviction.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, Creighton Waters. Whew.
And he's
a prize fighter.
He is a prize fighter.
And his whole team. His entire team were such a joy to work with. And
I'm so glad that they have been recognized on a national stage.
They deserve it. And they deserve me time.
Heroes.
They deserve me time.
Yeah.
I've stayed away from the group and their photographs and that kind of thing because they deserve this.
They just are. Then again, you were such an integral piece of that puzzle. I'm telling you, if you were not part of that puzzle, I don't know that we would have seen a conviction.
Well, David and Ryan and so many guys that SLED too, that, they really, they took away time from their families and holidays. And I understand that call schedule. And just because the Murdaugh case was going on didn't mean everything else in the Low Country stopped.
Right, exactly.
It was a once in a lifetime thing. I guess it's I've never had an addiction or addiction to anything real bad, but I guess it's kind of like chasing, that chemical. because you're never going to get that high again.
Right.
And when I got off the stand, ladies, I was actually dizzy. My head was spinning.
You were on there forever.
And I said, just get to that back pew. Do not look at anyone. And I could see people over there doing this and thumbs up and like, sit down, compose yourself, and then you can smile. A day or two later, Creighton come to me and he knelt down, and I said, I'm just going to watch and enjoy this thing. And he said, we got to put you back up.
Oh, no.
And for a split second, I said, no, wait a minute now. I honored my retirement. But I can't tell them guys no. Him and the general and the team and, you know, just everyone was so gracious and so uplifting, you know.
I feel like I've always been a believer of what should be will be. And I feel like that group of people on the prosecution side, including you and all of the experts that they brought together, I think it's because it was to be. Everybody being together, just all that group of individuals that made up that incredible machine. It was supposed to be.
Well, you know, like I said, on the back row, I hadn't worked with them guys in a number of years. They come down to Orangeburg to help us, you know, because they're an assisting agency. But when you start talking about David and Ryan and Jeff and then, you know, Captain Neal, who retired, and the major, and I don't want to miss a name, but it's so many of them guys. And we were sitting on that back pew, especially when my part was done, I thought. And we're just like, yeah, that was good. That witness was awesome. Oh man, did you hear that testimony? And then Dr. Reimer from MUSC, as I said, I don't know her from a can of paint, but the lady put her heart and soul into that. And you get some, you know, expert witnesses that come in and they tell theories and they expand on things. And that's not possible. Dr. Reimer was there on her own dime and she came back on her own dime. And if I didn't think she got it right, and if I didn't think that jury got it right, I would tell you, I don't think they got it right. But I reserved my thought. CrimeCon was the first time I ever publicly said, I believe the jury got it right.
Right.
And I've got to support them through any controversy until someone shows me they didn't get it right, because I know the vibe. No one knows what it feels like on that stand unless you've been there. And I know what I felt. And genuinely, I'm pretty good judge of that. So, I do respect what they say. If they just, you know, come back with a different verdict, it is what it is.
It's the process.
Yes, ma'am. We got the best system in the world.
We really do.
We got problems, but we have the best.
Nothing's perfect.
System in the world. We took a defendant that is probably safe to say never told the truth in his life, and he gets on the stand, and now he expects everyone to believe him. And
because of who he was,
right? And part of the defense process is to try and chip away at the integrity of those on the stand. And it just didn't work. It did not work because
he was not believable.
There was so much.
I wanted to not have, like, I wanted to wait and hear everything and not have an opinion. But every time I looked at him and the way he carried himself, his demeanor, I just was like, oh my God, I really think this man did it. And then Creighton, oh my gosh, it was like knitting a sweater. I had no idea what he was knitting. I couldn't tell what he was knitting. He was weaving through, and I was like, I don't know if this is the best guy a couple of times. And then when on that last day, when he was doing his closing, when he was doing his wrap up with Alec, he said something, and I was like, oh my God, he just proved it. Like, that's it.
Was it the Family Annihilator?
Yeah. He made a sweater. He did it.
That was the sweater he was knitting the whole time. And we couldn't figure it out because we were looking at it in pieces. You know, there's the financial, and I'm like, this financial thing is going on forever. Like, where are we heading with this? It's a murder trial. And I think a lot of people question, like, do we need this much information? But in the end, I'm like, yeah, because that was the whole neckline.
Right.
Like that was the neck to the sweater. And if you didn't talk about those things, you would have never gotten to the hem of the sweater.
No, it was.
So you just had to.
Now it takes a fashionista to put it that way, but I agree so much.
That's the simpleton in us, right?
That's us. We're
just knitting sweaters.
We don't know how to knit, but we do wear sweaters.
See, I was back there. My head was spinning. I was back there too, going, Lord, and you know, I had about 4 suits at the time. And I finally told Miss Carly, Creighton's legal assistant, she was wonderful. I said, look, they said, you're going to get up tomorrow. Well, that day came and went. You're going to get on the stand tomorrow. And that day came and went. I said, look, if I don't get up tomorrow, you got to take me shopping. Because I have a rule that I do not wear the same suit twice in a week.
Yeah.
So something got to happen.
Right.
And, you know, it was just, but I was back there going, Creighton, what are you saying?
Oh, yeah.
What are you trying to say? And I was in all these meetings, or most of them, but some of the stuff went way over my head if it didn't apply to me. And then when they get to something, I'd be like, well, no, this is here. And they looking at me like a cow looking at a new gate. And I'm trying to explain to them, you know, what this means. And, you know, then when I did my report and then the defense didn't want anyone to read my report.
Well, there's a red flag.
In my opinion, though, my report did not hurt them. I just said I can't agree with the original expert. I didn't say he's wrong.
Right.
I said, this appears to be such and such. But I can't agree with that because of the process. You can't decide what peanut butter your family likes with 5 spoonfuls.
Right. When
you test 5 samples, that's not scientific. And I just can't agree with it. And I tried to do my own research, and I went and did my own examination, and the piece of evidence, and y'all know what I'm talking about, that piece of evidence was just totally destroyed. And I come back and I wrote my report. You don't want anyone to see it. So you attach it to emotion and send it out worldwide. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
Does it? I was a little taken aback. And then when David Owen's mother passed and we all knew it.
Yeah.
And, you know, then they attacked him on the stand. Let me tell you that kid, I call him kid because he's 10 years younger than me, but he's got more integrity than most. And you take his words and twist them. None of us believe for 1 second that if you lie to the state grand jury, there's not going to be someone waiting there with handcuffs for you when you step off the stand. And that's the defense part I don't agree with. You can attack the science, but don't attack my integrity.
Right.
Because really and truly, nothing Kenny Kinsey did proved or disproved that Alec Murdaugh committed that crime. What I did was disprove some crazy theories from some high-dollar experts.
Yeah, those 12-year-old snipers.
The Utes. You know, the general told me, he said, if you can work that in, he said, I'll give you a gift certificate. But I couldn't do it because it was so unbelievable that the little 5'2" gray men.
Yes.
Not 5'8".
Not 5'8".
Not 4 foot. 5'2", maybe 5'4".
Yeah.
And
so
I'm like,
12-year-old snipers.
Right.
And these experts, and I'm not bashing them.
Yeah.
I'm not bashing the experts. They all have resumes from, you know, to stretch a mile long. I believe it's just the pressure that was placed on them by the defense to just take it. They just took it a little bit too far.
It does make you question their integrity.
It does. And that's what I said. When someone said, can you prove it wasn't 2 shooters? I said, I can't include it or exclude it.
Exactly. It's not provable.
But I'll throw out the totality of it and let the jury decide. You know, it come to me when I was on the stand the first time, and I went up and measured it during a break. The stand was 8 inches high, and I'm 5'10". So when I did the recreation with the general, I said, look, I'm 5'10", and I'm at this angle. You know, and now I'm at 6'6", and I'm still at the same angle. I believe that's what resonated with the jury.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they can see it.
And it's just the truth. It's not smoke and mirrors. You know, I can hold it here and shoot someone in the leg, or I can step back and stand up and still get the same angle.
Yeah.
Right.
And we spent 2 hours, close to 2 hours.
But
talking.
never do you hold it down here by your hip.
Oh, right. Or take a knee.
Yeah, take a knee when he's praying and shooting. Like, what's happening?
And we talked about a bullet hole in a piece of weathered cardboard for an hour.
Oh my gosh.
It didn't mean anything. But you're trying to make those jurors' heads spin.
Right.
It's just, like I said, you can be wrong. But if you're wrong, you're just wrong because you made a mistake. Don't be wrong because of the zeros on the paycheck.
Exactly. Right. Or arrogant.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
So is there a case that haunts you that was really hard, or that you didn't
have some cold cases in Orangeburg? And of course, you never got an outcome for the ones, at SLED, because if they weren't solved, you just never heard anything from it again. But had a couple cold cases in Orangeburg. Dontre Edwards, which was a young man who was found executed on a dirt road, and come real close to being able to solve it. And it kept crashing and burning. And then there was Sandra Gale Lee, who was murdered and almost decapitated in a case. And we were real close to that. But a guy by the name of Charlie Schuler, killed his girlfriend, his girlfriend's mother, his girlfriend's daughter, and actually shot at her son the same time this other scene was going on, about 11 miles apart. At that time, you had limited resources and just a handful of detectives, and one got solved, one didn't.
Right.
And, it's little ones like that. And if I think long enough, I could probably think 2 or 3 dozen like that. But most had an outcome. And then you've got the ones, who choose self-harm, or the industrial accidents, that we also had to work. And then the unknowns. People, you get older and you don't have any family or friends close by, and you're found, a month, 2 months later. And sometimes it's just an unknown. Those bother you. But the children are probably the worst. But I was really fortunate. I only had probably a dozen child deaths that wasn't attributed to SIDS or something of that effect. So the child deaths were always different, but at autopsy there wasn't any playing around. It was really reverent. The pathologist, it was just totally different, because you have to have a release when you're dealing with death and dying constantly. And you joke around a little bit when the cameras aren't playing. That's not disrespect. That's just a coping mechanism.
Right.
But there's none of that when a child or an infant, has an autopsy, or when you perform an autopsy. There's none of that. It's a total different vibe in the autopsy suite. And, that makes it a little bit easier to deal with, I guess.
Probably so. I know. I'm so hanging on every word that he says that I forget I'm in this.
Yeah, this is like our podcast.
I keep forgetting that
you are driving.
I can't. I mean,
this is why I drive us everywhere we go.
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Okay, so you talked about the jury and dealing with the jury and locking eyes with the jury and trying to silently build a rapport with them. So have you ever experienced a checked out jury?
Yes, ma'am. I have testified 4 times in the last 4 months, and 3 of them, my testimony didn't mean exoneration or conviction. It was basic crime scene, violent crime cases. And the 4th one actually was a video case. It was a big shootout on video. And this is just my opinion. The defendant was less than a good dude. And he was charged with murder in a big shootout at a huge convenience store. I'm talking just dozens and dozens and dozens of shell casings, 6 or more people shooting back and forth. Wow. I hadn't done a lot of video work. You always wish there was a crime on video to make it easier. But I had it on video from several different angles, and playing it at slow motion, the video was actually so antique that you didn't see a lot. A friend of mine and myself were trying to review the video, because I always do a technical review if possible, because I can make a mistake. I want someone to do a review of my work just to be sure. And we figured out a way to play it frame by frame. And the victim the guy that expired actually shot the defendant. He backed, and I showed all this to the jury, played it frame by frame, 20 frames per second. You see the gun 7 or 8 times. You see him shoot the defendant. The defendant tried to shoot back. That's what I said. I'm not saying this is a saint, but physically, when the victim turned and ran away, there's no way the defendant can shoot him in this side of the chest,
right,
sever his spine.
Oh, gosh.
And ultimately cause his death.
Mm-hmm.
And I showed that to him. And I said, I could look at the shock, panic, and denial on the solicitor's face when I did this. I could tell. I thought they were messing with us. I can tell they really didn't know how to play it frame by frame.
Oh, gosh.
And I said, well, this system that I've worked in for 30 plus years, they're going to do the right thing. They're going to go back and amend the charges. Like I said, I never said this guy wasn't guilty of something.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get to say that part.
Right.
And they didn't. They tried to discredit me, and ultimately it worked. They convicted him.
No,
are you kidding?
No, ma'am. The guy went to prison. Now, he's going to have one heck of an appeal, because 3 days later it hit the news that the FBI told the solicitor 6 months prior the same thing I told them.
Oh, and they still went forward.
They didn't share the information with the defense attorney.
Oh, no.
The FBI evidently had informants in the crowd. I found people shooting back toward the victim that no one could actually see on video. And I mean, this is no doubt. You see the weapon, you can see the muzzle, not the flash, you can see the powder in several of them. You know, you got a clear gun, foggy gun. Well, that's the powder. The video isn't fast enough to pick up the flash. I was really bummed. I was way more bummed about that guy going to jail for murder. And I could tell the foreman of the jury was, 20 years my senior. I could tell. And he just was having no part of it. I mean, I think he was the foreman. You don't really know, but he's the one that was shaking his head and looking at everyone else. And you think that they're going to do the right thing and stand up and say, wait a minute, y'all, we want to amend some charges or start this thing over or whatever. And they didn't. And that's the only time in my career ever, and I'll never do it again, I walked out going, this is going to be a not guilty.
Oh, wow.
And when I got the phone call 2 days later, I was absolutely devastated.
Right.
Now, like I said, he needs to be in jail for something, probably.
Sure, absolutely.
And I believe he's got a real good path to an appeal.
Right.
But I never talked to the FBI. And if we said the same thing or close to the same thing, then I believe that adds some credibility to it. And I just feel like the system, let that
it just makes you wonder if the jury just didn't see a bad guy and they thought they would put him in jail.
Yes, ma'am. They saw one guy doing a shooting who is no longer with us, and another guy who was shooting back. And they said, look, we'll get rid of 2 bad guys.
Sure.
And I truly believe that's the frustration that those jurors had. And look, I'm not going to question them because it's their job.
And it's the process.
And maybe something happened in that week that I didn't hear that, makes, but it was true. I mean, I never say this is absolutely true. I can show you this is true. And they collected one gun, the one on the dead guy.
Oh.
And all these shell casings, all these videos showing people shooting.
What? And they only got one gun?
Yes, ma'am. When he finally collapsed, which was immediate, he dropped the weapon, and that's the only one the police collected.
Wow.
That was it. And the other one was through and through, so they never could match it to a gun if they had another gun.
Yeah.
And it was put a lot of time in it. The defense attorney is a real good guy, and we believed in the case, and they didn't do a self-defense defense. Because that admits I shot him and we knew he didn't shoot him.
Yeah.
And that one just didn't work. And it's like that sometimes.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
So how do you prepare yourself to be an expert witness? Do you have some superstitions? Is there a method to the madness?
This has been Sugar Coated Murder Podcast, a deliciously entertaining true crime podcast. Like what you heard? You can always explore past episodes by visiting sugarcoatedpod.com. Don't forget to like our Facebook fan page and share with friends. Thanks for listening to Sugar Coated Murder Podcast.
Luxury is meant to be livable. Discover the new leather collection at Ashley with premium quality leather sofas, recliners, and more, all built to last. No matter how many spills, scuffs, or pet-related mishaps come its way, the leather collection at Ashley is made with the durability you need for the whole family. Shop the new leather collection at Ashley and find chairs starting at $499.99 and sofas at $599.99. Ashley, for the love of home.
In a fast-paced world, every day brings new challenges and new opportunities. At Strayer University, we know a thing or two about getting and staying ahead of change. For over 130 years, we've been providing students like you with innovative tools, customized support, and an education built to empower you, so you can find your way forward and always keep striving. Visit strayer.edu to learn more